During the 1984 Bhopal gas tragedy, the world's worst industrial disaster, some families remained unaffected by the toxic fumes. This created national headlines. What emerged as common between them was the practice of a simple fire ritual from the Vedic times, Agnihotra Homa. 2 years later, in the wake of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, this Agnihotra ash was found to be neutral to radioactivity, a remarkable find in a very polluted environment. This and many other findings from scientific communities in India and abroad have led to the revival of Agnihotra Homa and the larger Homatherapy as a potential tool for cleaning up the world's air, soils, waters, human, plant and animal health. At the heart of it lies the story of Shree Vasant Paranjpe, a lesser known saint who is associated with revival of this ancient Vedic practice. In today's episode of Sacred, we look at Shree Vasant's life, the life of two of his disciples practicing this for 4 decades now, and the potential of Homatherapy to heal the world one fire at a time.
So I do this every day. Every day I collect. In summertime I even collect twice a day.
Right.
And the reason is that the cow dung beetles are very fast. So I collect in the morning and then what cow dung they drop in the afternoon. I have to collect end of the day, otherwise overnight they come in and they just, we can't use it.
The flame of the Master is proven by the light in his disciples. The disciple is a living mirror of the Guru's energies, values, tapasyas. Our scriptures say Yatha Guru Tatha Shishya. Through the life of septuagenarians Lee and Frits Ringma in Australia, at Om Shri Dham, we get a glimpse of who the Master, Shree Vasant Paranjpe, would have been, and how profound his teachings would have been for this couple to go to India every single year, once or twice, for a period of 20 years, in small towns and villages, and live with the Master, spread his teachings, even stay for a whole year to spread Homatherapy. For the past 4 decades, they have been practicing and propagating Homatherapy as living examples of what it can do for the healing not only of one's own mind, but of the collective consciousness of humans, plants, animals, and even inanimate beings all around us.
Om Swami Gajanana, Om Swami Gajanana, Om Swami Gajanana, Om Bhadram Karane Vishwanyala Devaha, Bhadram Pasema Akshivya Jatra, Thiram Veshtu Tuam Samhirove, Yasem Deviniti Layu Swastina Hindro.
You heard Lee and Frits chant Om Shri Gajananam. Let's backtrack from Shree Paranjpe to Shri Gajanan Maharaj, who was his guru, to see where it is that he got this context of spreading Homatherapy in the world. Shri Gajanan Maharaj was born in 1918 in Kharagpur, West Bengal, and he was revered as the Kalki avatar, or the 10th avatar of Vishnu, of the Hindu Trinity. Hence, he was revered as a Param Sadguru, where he was renowned for reviving the ancient Vedic practice of Agnihotra Homa and formulating the fivefold path, which is a concise guide to spiritual living based on Vedic wisdom. The Vedas are said to be as old as creation itself and were revealed, it's said, by ancient seers, rishis, in Sanskrit, which is said to be the mother of all languages. Gajanan Maharaj would say the study of the Vedas, adoration of the Vedas, and obeying commands of the Vedas are rights based on equality. This is the teaching of the eternal religion or Sanatan Dharma. This eternal religion is the tree, and all of the world's religions and sects are its branches and sub-branches. Sri Gajanan was born into an extremely pious family of spiritually exalted members, and he became the disciple of this ageless, mysterious, powerful and pious saint, Shree Samarth of Akalkot, who is said to be an incarnation of Dattatreya himself. The mutt, named after he took Samadhi, Ballappa Mutt, was also headed by his maternal grandfather, and at age 20, he himself was installed as the head of the mutt. It is said that Lord Parshuram, one of the other avatars of Vishnu, himself gave him a Guru Mantra, and in 1944 he took the supreme vow, I will resuscitate the Vedas.
He was also a prophet, so he told us about these times that we're in, these turbulent times, and the earth changes, and the switching over from Kali Yuga consciousness to Satya Yuga consciousness, and he said that for many of us it would be in our lifetime. So it was so exciting to sit with him and to receive all this knowledge that we had no idea about. It was just mind-blowing. I think the first time I met him in the United States and sat with him, we met him, I couldn't stop after leaving his presence. I couldn't stop laughing and crying for about 24 hours because it was so mind-blowing. It was everything my soul had longed for and much more that I could have possibly understood.
We all intuitively know that we should love more, connect more with each other, share more, give more, be with nature, connect with the divine, do good in this world. And yet, what tends to happen is conditioning from our childhood, the environment, and all sorts of fears take over and cover this innate intelligence within us. How can we expect to live a life of contentment when there are so many complicated behavior patterns at play? Ancient Vedic wisdom shows us a way. It has from time immemorial given us blueprints that we can follow for a life out of this complication. Sri Gajanan Maharaj too laid out the fivefold path, which if followed can lead to a life of bliss. The path said that do yajnas for purification of the atmosphere, practice dana for generation of non-attachment, tapa for the fulfillment of your goal, karma for self-purification, and swadhyaya for liberation. Let's say that's complex to follow, and we even start with only one tool. So we just take up the practice of yajna or homas. It is promised that the prana or life force within us gets purified through the medium of fire. This then purifies the mind, reduces its burdens, which allows us to think clearly and thereby make helpful choices to support the universal law of karma. As we sow, so we shall reap. This automatically gives us the agency to take control and choose skillful habits, which will then provide skillful or helpful results. How we do one thing starts affecting how we do everything. When Sri Gajanan Maharaj met his disciple, Shree Vasant Paranjpe, in 1958, he disclosed to someone else close to him
we think we have found the one we have been looking for.
And we wanted to meet the preceptor of Homatherapy, because Homatherapy is expanded upon the daily practice of sunrise Agnihotra, sunrise and sunset Agnihotra. And so he's the preceptor of Homatherapy. Unlike what many people think, Homatherapy is just therapy using homas. No, Homatherapy is specifically related to sunrise, sunset Agnihotra, and other homas complement that to create a healthy biosphere to live in for these times. So, and then also it's also used in drug de-addiction to help drug addicts to de-addict fast. It's quite an amazing super science from the Vedas. So we went over to see Shree Vasant, and it was just Frits and I having an interview with him, and we had never met a person of that caliber. We had never met a saint or an enlightened person, and he was so clearly that, but extremely humble, and he would never claim that. In fact, he didn't want to be known as a guru, simply someone who was teaching Agnihotra to the world to basically save the planet. So he didn't want himself to be known. He wanted Agnihotra to be known. And that was how humble and real he was. When we'd go, after meeting him in the United States, we came back here and he guided us to get a property so we could grow food and demonstrate to ourselves and ultimately to other people how to grow organic food using Agnihotra in Homa Therapy, Homa organic farming. So that's what we did, and we bought this land, and this land was absolutely a rubbish dump, but underneath that rubbish dump, it's like a sacred site. It was sacred to the indigenous people. We just had to clean it up energetically and physically, and now we have this beautiful sacred ashram-like atmosphere and land. Basically uncovered all the dross through performing these healing fires, Homa organic farming, and the daily Agnihotra, the daily Om Trambakam, and some other homas, and using the ash on the land. So that's what he advised us to do, and we knew he was a wise man, and so we followed his advice. He said personally to us, your liberation will come not from meditating for hours on end. Your liberation will come from sharing Homatherapy with the people.
Yeah, doing service.
Yes, that's service work. Yeah.
Seva.
Yeah.
First word in the oldest Veda, the Rig Veda, is Agni. Homas have been done from time immemorial to change the energy of the biosphere and induce positive consequences in the environment. For example, better rain or better crop production and so on. However, somewhere along the way, Homas got corrupted with animal sacrifices. But that was never the intention. The intention was to purify the body, the microcosm, and the macrocosm. A healthy body reflects the health of the atmosphere and vice versa. Today, Agnihotra Homas are being done worldwide as this combination of bioenergy, medicine, agriculture, and climate engineering took great results. And some countries, especially in South America and Europe, have adopted this like on a huge scale. A lot of research is available on the internet. What got me personally interested in practicing this, along with my husband, after we learnt it from a close family friend, and then later from Lee and Frits, we realized it is really powerful in changing the mind, in changing interpersonal relationships, and recharging the plants and the bird life and animal life around us. As a mental health professional, it got me even more excited when I read studies on the benefits of removing or even completely altering a person's state of mind from a very tamasic, depressed state or a dorsal ventral state in Western psychology to a parasympathetic state of rest, relaxation, or a sattvic state. Shree Vasant Paranjpe was born to a pious Maharashtrian family in Pune in 1921. A brilliant student, he went to London for his engineering and learned to fly an aircraft even before starting his first year of studies at the age of 15. He was taken in there by the Indian freedom movement and decided that it's better to pursue the freedom of India than finishing his studies there. He returned to India, and a decade of work with Mahatma Gandhi and the freedom struggle actually saw him in jail for a period of almost 4 years. Whilst in jail, his mother passed away and he wished to attend her cremation. But the jail authorities said only on one condition: you will have to apologize. So principled and disciplined was he said, apologize for what? Because of course he had done no wrong in supporting India's freedom. He's said to have been quite sick after his release. And mysteriously one day, a sadhu in orange robes appeared and handed him this cow dung ash and said to have it in water. And that is said to have reversed his health conditions. He married Kusum Paranjpe in 1958 and moved to Belgaum in Karnataka to set up a paper factory. He had met his guru, Shree Gajanan Maharaj, that year as well, and soon began 13 years of spiritual practices under him, sometimes so intense that he would just go away to remote places to practice. He began to spread his master's teachings in the southern parts of India, and in 1972, the master told him, when he was age 51, Shree Vasant, to go to the USA with the message, carry our blissful words to the people of the world. Shree Vasant was then to travel non-stop for 37 years across India and over 60 countries, spreading the fivefold path as revealed through the Vedas and Agnihotra Homa. His message was very simple: heal the atmosphere and the atmosphere will heal you.
It was just the most beautiful experience. Sometimes Shree would come with us and he would talk, and then he would ask us to talk. And he said, look, this is a divine trick. This is to get the Westerners, who were regarded as, people to listen to. Everybody's going over to the West for material benefit and so on, and taking up Western scientific views and the Western education system. So he said, this is a trick. Bring some Westerners to India and get them to reintroduce Agnihotra and home organic farming, this ancient Vedic science for a healthy, natural, vital environment. Bring it to the people that way, and they'll listen to you because you're in this Western package, So this is just a divine trick. Don't let your ego get carried away, And yes, so he was a wonderful spiritual master as well. So that was almost like the divine leela for us to grow,
Shree Vasant wrote prolifically on Homatherapy and its contributions to both the macrocosm and the microcosm. Nature in Homatherapy takes over and allows and enables this healing to happen. So for many of us who are struggling to, let's say, take the first step in cleaning up our diet or exercising or serving, can at least start to do a small practice which is quite simple, like Agnihotra Homa, and then allow it to have a ripple effect of refining our consciousness, which will help us choose more helpful habits.
Because it's purifying your mind, it starts to purify you of your, if you have negative habit patterns, it'll start to purify your addictions. You'll start to find, some people are just addicted to negative thinking. And that's easy on this planet. And it'll start to purify your mind. You start to find that you're far more positive, you're far more loving with your family members. You start to see that trees are living beings. They're not things to just use and chop down and, at your convenience. You start to see that everything is alive. You start to appreciate the consciousness in animals. They're no longer some dumb creature that you can use, but you actually see they're people in an animal body with feelings, so your whole life starts to transform and you start to treat life accordingly.
So far as modern agriculture is concerned, scientists talk only about soil, mainly about soil and a little about water. They say, okay, get the soil analysis, these things are missing, microelements, and also this, do this, that's all. Then they'll talk a little about water. But according to ancient science, very important part of farming is the atmosphere, what is called Vatavarana. That is the avarana of Vata. If that Vatavarana changes, then immediately everything changes. So yajna is a method to inject that Vatavaran and put nutrition into that Vatavaran so that people are able to lead a very happy life.
Shree Vasant started Homa farming on Tapovan, which is a living testament to the benefits of Homa farming. It's a 15-acre property about 8 hours north of Bombay, where for over 20 years, the Om Triambakam Homa has been done non-stop. Non-stop. There have been 7 Somayagnas, or these grand yagnas for restoring balance in the environment that were also undertaken there. There were in fact 2 Australians, Bruce and Anne, who were managing the Tapovan property for many years. Now it's looked after by his grandson. But similar farms are there across the world practicing hours of Om Triambakam Homas, Homa farming, Homatherapy, of course Agnihotra Homas. And the results have been really astounding to see and observe.
Ordinary amount, like 65% more variety of butterflies at this place, so indicating a healthy environment, and a tremendously high percentage compared to the rest of the upstream and downstream of crustaceans in the mud. So all kinds of different varieties. So there you go. The environment is being healed.
I'm going to finish off these.
He also focused on healing the environment and how to grow food, because he said food will become increasingly more difficult to grow in these polluted conditions. So he taught us Homa organic farming, how to grow utilizing Agnihotra to condition the atmosphere, to recondition it back into health and naturalness, to condition the soil, depollute the soil, rejuvenate the soil, the water bodies, and how to use Agnihotra, performing it in the vicinity of your crops, putting the ash in the water that you water your plants with, so you're delivering, the ash is full of prana, so you're delivering life force to the plants. And he asked us to go to the villages and to teach this to the people all around us, because he said they've lost this knowledge, they've thrown it in the bin since colonialism and westernization has come more and more into India and said, oh, all this is superstition and rubbish, follow this material science that is much more superior. But of course that's not true. And so actually Vedas is a pure but super science. It takes into account consciousness, it takes into account energies like prana, all of which, is science is just touching on now as like, oh, what an eye-opener, what a revelation. But there it was in the Vedas and has always been.
I was also very keen to learn about the Om Triambakam Homa, or the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, very well-known, powerful mantra. for its role in de-addiction and improving mental health. Shree Vasant writes extensively about it, saying that if done along with the Agnihotra Homa for an hour a day, results can be seen quite quickly in the quality of our thoughts and the fears and limiting beliefs that color it going away. In the de-addiction protocol that he has mentioned, that there is the Om Triambakam Homa for an hour a day, there's a twice a day Agnihotra Homa, living in a Homa atmosphere, working on the land as well, eating high prana sattvic food, and a 12-step process similar to the famous Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous process. In the Indian Journal of Psychiatry, Dr. G.R. Golecha writes extensively about his results with Agnihotra as a de-addiction treatment for serious drugs including smack and LSD. He says, but the vibrations generated during the ritual of Agnihotra performed at sunrise and sunset are important in producing its beneficial effects. You know how the pyramids were constructed? To channel that energy to protect the king who were buried within. This is an inversion of the pyramid, right? So the energy is harnessed for the benefit of the world. And there is a beautiful scientific explanation of how the Agnihotra copper pot harnesses this energy at the exact time of sunrise, sunset, and how that recharges us and the atmosphere. So he says, the term vibration can be translated to a physicist to mean the various electromagnetic waves and radiation which might be produced in the copper pot during this practice. We may find the secret of this enhanced tranquility of mind in some of these electromagnetic waves, which may be in synchronization with the cosmic radiation present at the time of sunrise and sunset.
You're working with a holistic energy. You're working with the very energies that create life. And hence the timing, sunrise, sunset, is so critical for that. And you are preferably making that a daily practice. Because what we are aiming at is both inner purification and outer purification, or inner healing and outer healing. We're aiming at both. And on a polluted planet, I have to revert back to that because this is why Agnihotra is so important now for every human being on the planet to perform it, because we're at such a critical level of pollution. It's can destroy our planet. And in fact, if scientists were allowed to speak freely, we're really way past the midnight hour. But Agnihotra is here to heal all of that. And that's because it works with the very forces of creation itself in such a big way. So if anything's holistic, that's holistic, the energy that we're working with. And then it's on a daily basis. So you have to live walk your talk. So it's a daily thing, sunrise, sunset, but it's daily because, as well, for a technical reason, because we're inundated with pollution all the time. So therefore we need an antidote all the time. So Agnihotra sunrise, Agnihotra sunset is the antidote that's been given. But it's not only helping us on a physical level to have clean air and healthy soil to grow our food, our organic food, and clean water to drink, and a healed biosphere and ecosystems healthy and vibrant and all interacting in abundance, abundantly supplied for. Whether it's the human kingdom or the insect kingdom, the plant kingdom, everything's supplied for. Again, total holistic thing.
And so it is a holistic practice is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's totally a holistic practice. It's the actual meaning of holism. You couldn't get more holistic. And it has to be regular because we're dealing with regular pollution. But also that regularity then constantly exposes us to a high vibration. Every time we perform Agnihotra, our vibration is raised and harmonized, not just ours but the environment. And so it enables us to become better human beings, to fulfill our duties here with a peaceful state of mind, a clear state of mind, and with love in the heart. So Shree Vasant, our Agnihotra teacher, he would say that Agnihotra is the most powerful material aid, because, you know, you have a copper pyramid, that's a material. You have the cow dung, that's material. So it's the most powerful material aid to bring us into a state of unconditional love. So on an individual level, but because we're seeding the whole environment, like one Agnihotra, one human being performing Agnihotra has an impact for about 3/4 of a kilometre, or easily a kilometre really, and 12 kilometres up. So this is called the Homa, Homa meaning healing fire. Agnihotra is a healing fire, the main one, Homa biosphere. So we create that, and then we're raising the consciousness within that biosphere. So here you have a holistic lifestyle. Now, through harvesting a holistic energy and raising your consciousness, so you're automatically on a spiritual journey when you start Agnihotra. Because what is spirituality is purifying the mind, so that we can, using means to purify the mind so that we can be who we truly are, because it's only the mind that's in the way of our divine consciousness, our, you know, who we truly are. So it's taking care of that environmentally. That's why when people first start Agnihotra, they feel great, because all the extraneous energies that are burdened and stressed in their external atmosphere, other people's thoughts, other people's stress, the pollution, all that is taken care of. So then you're just with yourself. And then also you are being purified at the same time. But as soon as you start Agnihotra, you will feel all this relief. So it's holistic in the very sense of the word, and beyond that, really.
You know, spiritual health is an integral part of holistic well-being. Since I began researching on the saints of India and their lives and teachings, no matter what their path or tool or technology, I realized moral disciplines are the foundation or the ground on which they build upon. As a student of Ashtanga Yoga too, we are taught that yamas and niyamas are the first two limbs of yoga. So external and internal rituals or observances or disciplines. The mind and heart cannot purify without these foundational disciplines of the inner and outer world. So one's food, thoughts, speech must be non-violent. One must study the self. One's work must be spiritualized. One must rise and wake and sleep with the circadian rhythm. You know, the dinacharya, our daily behavior and activity, must be regularized and spiritualized. And so, to sit stably in this world, that foundation has to be these moral disciplines. And Jaisa an, Vaisa man, Jaisa pani, Vaisa vani, and all of these ancient teachings of as the food is, so is the mind, as the water, so is the speech, are overlooked in the courses we do on psychology, psychiatry, counseling, psychotherapy. The medical model too is very fragmented today, with an emphasis on pharmaceutical drugs and specialist doctors for every part of the body, treating it as separate from the whole. But we are disconnected today that lifestyle is paramount to well-being and that we are holistic beings.
Then he was traveling, and whenever he was traveling, let's say he came back from the United States, he would not touch any food in the plane whatsoever. He would only eat food which was prepared by people who performed Agnihotra. you know, and also the same with water. He was very particular about what water he would drink. And so I would expect if he come in, you know, the night before, he was in his mid-70s towards 80s when we met up with him, that he would just, you know, have a good rest. But he was there completely showered and washed and clean clothes on at 3:30 in the morning. He was just a shining example in, he was not just words, but he was actually living what he was teaching. And there was such humility in there, and he was so full of love and acceptance, and you know, the people would come who were just interested in meeting the guru and imbibing themselves in the energy of that and all of that. And I thought, well, why would you spend, thinking about him, why would you spend time with somebody like that? Why would you waste your energy on that? He had no such concept. Whoever come, even at 12 o'clock at midnight, he would get up and he would share information about Agnihotra, and with passion. Always with passion, always totally there. Even after, you know, we've been traveling with him in the cars in India to various villages, and then we've been, you know, on the road for 8 hours. And then we would come back at an Agnihotra's place, and then we would get out of the car. Everybody was starving, hungry, and he would say, "Have the children eaten?" That was his focus. So there was a certain, because of he followed certain disciplines. To cook for him, people who were cooking for him, they would need to take a bath, shower and clean clothes, and then the kitchen had to be clean. So he was, I'm sure he was hungry himself, but he asked the people who were cooking first to cook for the children, feed them, and then his entourage who came with him to feed them. Then that person had then go through the whole cleaning process and clean the kitchen and then cook for him. So he would maybe get food an hour or 2 hours later. And that was just his nature, you know. It was this tremendous humility. He
Knew how closely what you eat, how you cook, who makes the food, the prana in the food itself affects how you think, feel, and act. Interestingly, even in the preparation of cow dung cakes, ahimsa or non-violence is to be practiced. And that starts with the way the cows are treated with love, respect, devotion, clean food, and also they are given ash as medicine.
That is eggs laid by flies.
Oh, okay.
And if you leave them in, they will turn, you pet it out on the table, it gets warm, they turn into maggots,
Oh, right.
like little worms,
Right.
which is fine, it's just nature.
Right.
But they also stay in the cow dung pet, and you can't really use that cow dung pet anymore for Agnihotra,
Right.
because you get all these maggots in there and you would burn that, and it's a ahimsa practice, you don't want to kill.
In India, people may not be that surprised by this information about cow being sacred or its dung being sacred and its urine being useful. However, many people don't know that Agnihotra ash is actually a medicine as well. And the ash can be used in very many ways to cure very many conditions. Shree Vasant Paranjpe himself would recommend taking Agnihotra ash 3 times a day as a preventive medicine. Also mixing it with ghee as a topical ointment for humans, animals and plants.
Cow dung is very medicinal, you know, because from Ayurveda. So the breast of the cow is medicinal, and the urine is medicinal, and the fur, the hair, but also cow dung. So before penicillin was there, around about First World War, if soldiers would get wounds in combat, and it would develop gangrene. The only way to deal with it was amputation.
Right.
But in some old knowledge cohorts in Europe, they knew that if people had gangrene wounds, they would apply a sleeve made of cotton, fill it with fresh cow dung before it drops to the ground. So you got to collect it mid-air.
Wow.
Amazing.
And then fill the sleeve if the gangrene was on the arm.
Right.
And then refresh that every 24 hours.
Right.
Gangrene gone in 1 week time.
And this was in Europe.
Yeah, it's in Europe.
Wow.
That was in Denmark and some parts of Austria and Germany. That was still common practice. And also people when they had black spots in the lung, TB, they would come to places like that and they would let them sleep in the cow shed on the loft.
The Agnihotra ash is medicine. It's created in this vortex of prana that's flooding in. And so this ash is concentrated prana, this gold. And so that ash, especially nowadays because of all the toxicity, the nanotechnology that's invading our bodies, the chemical pollution, and the Wi-Fi, the harmful EMF, it's imperative that we take the ash as well. Not only do Agnihotra sunrise, sunset, but take ash water throughout the day. So we consume it mainly in water, but you can take it straight. You can take it with honey, for example. Now, because of the association with this was once cow dung, many people in the West won't consume this Agnihotra ash. But here's where we come in and talk about the special nature of the cow. You know, and how cow dung has been used in medicine in Ayurveda. So cow dung and cow urine are used as an anti-cancer medicine in Ayurveda, and also cow urine has been used to purify the blood, and it's amazingly effective for purifying the blood and keeps it purified for quite some period of time. Talking about how in traditional cultures they build houses with cow dung floors and cow dung walls. So how can it be a putrid substance if people live in it?
You know, practices like Homatherapy were key practices of holistic medical systems like Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, epidemic or pandemics have been categorized as Janapado Dvamsa Rogas, and causative factors mentioned that the pollution of the Vayu, air, Jala, water, Desh, area, and Kala, season, and pathogens cause these toxins to arise in us. And only when we detoxify air, water, the atmosphere through tools like Agnihotra Homa can we hope to heal. I came across various applications of this Homatherapy in Atharva Veda as well, with regards to pregnancy rituals, de-addiction, improving mental health. Shree Vasant Paranjpe would say that everyone brings a different destiny, but there's always a way out. Follow the fivefold path of light, the divine light, and automatically a law will come into operation, the law of grace, and everything changes. There is a solution and there is a blueprint given for this grace to flow through you. He left his mortal body in 2008, but has left behind hundreds and thousands of practitioners around the globe who are spreading his life, his teachings for futures to come. Namaste.